energy like that, you should be fired up, prayed up, ready to go. That and a cup of coffee will work wonders on a Christmas morning after Christmas Eve service. Well, good morning, each and every one, and Merry Christmas to each and every one of you as well. I'd like to begin with a poem. It's called Christmas Thoughts by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. Whenever the Christmas season lends luster and peace to the year, and the ling-long ling of the bells that ring tell only of joy and cheer, I hear in their sweet wild music these words, and I hold them true. The Christ who is born on Christmas morn did only what you can do. Each soul that has breath and being is touched with heaven's own fire. Each living man is a part of the plan to lift the world up higher. No matter how narrow your limits, go forth and make them broad. You are every one, the daughter or son, crown prince or princess of God. Have you sinned? It's only an error. Your spirit is pure and white. It's truth's own ray and will find its way back into the path of right. Have you failed? It is only in seeming. The triumph will come at length. You are born to succeed. You will have all that you need if you will but believe in your strength. No matter how poor your record, Christ lives in the heart of you, and the shadow will roll up and off from your soul if you will but own this true. For Christ means the spirit of goodness, and all men are good at the core. Look searchingly in through the coating of sin, and lo, there is truth to adore. Believe in yourself and your motives. Believe in your strength and your worth. Believe you were sent from God's fair firmament to aid and ennoble the earth. Believe in the Savior within you. Know Christ and your spirit are one. Stand forth deified by your own noble pride, and whatever you ask shall be done. I came across this poem in a publication called The Life, a monthly journal of applied metaphysics by A.P. Barton and his wife, Josephine Barton. They were the editors and publishers, and it was printed in the year 1902. You're probably getting to know that I have centuries of treasures in my treasure chest that I love to pull from, because truth is timeless, and the words of this poem speak to the presence and the power that Christ has each and every day and in each one of us. The author was Ella Wheeler Wilcox, and she may not have been one of America's greatest poets, but in her time, she was one of the most popular. She was also a student of Emma Curtis Hopkins, who was known to be the mother of New Thought because of the lineage of students that stepped up into being powerful leaders within the New Thought movement. Some of those you may know: Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, co-founders of Unity, and also Ernest Holmes, founder of Religious Science. So she was a powerful influence to many thinkers in her day. In her writings, Ella expressed a unique blend of New Thought, spiritualism, and theosophical thinking. Part of those things the Fillmores also studied. And her works were filled with positivism, and she was a regular contributor to the newspapers in her area and nationwide, which is how her writings, these positive writings, were distributed among the American public. It was not through New Thought publications alone or any of our centers who were sharing these works, but it was through the newspaper that gave her her greatest audience. Actually, there's a quote on the walkway in the San Francisco area along the City Lights bookstore where the Beat generation is known to have spent a lot of time. And the plaque quoting her says, "Love lights more fires than hate extinguishes. Love lights more fires than hate extinguishes." So she is still very much a positive influence to anyone who sees or hears her writing nearly 100 years after her death. For us today, her poem embodies the Christmas symbolism for us, the mystical incarnation of God in man. And for us, it is the rebirth of the Christ presence as we remember our truth. So I'm sure most of us growing up on Christmas Day, this day, as our young people down and in the audience have experienced yet this morning, they grew up with the scent of the pine trees and the lights. Yes, we turned it on. And the falling snow blanketing the streets and covering the trees and, well, maybe not in Florida. But where I grew up, in upstate New York, we had plenty of snow blanketing the streets and covering the plants and the trees. And the opening of presents that could take what seems like hours, but really only a few minutes. But during all of that activity, I ask, can you recall, whether it was today or years gone by, where was or is the presence? I'm not talking about the PRESENTS's. I'm talking about the PRESENCE. Where was the presence in all of that? And I'm here to tell you that the biggest present with a T is the presence with a CE within you. Are you all awake enough to catch that? I know, it's a good thing I have it written down. I could have easily transposed those. The presence is within you. And so this month and yesterday, as we retold this Christmas story, we did so with purpose, to reawaken and begin a new cycle. When we look at the number 12, December being our 12th month, we begin to realize that the number 12 is a very important number, and it has symbolic meaning to both you and I. Not so much in years, although when you turn 12 and you crest over into the teen years, it can be pretty significant. But the reason we're talking about 12 is for its spiritual importance. The number 12 means a part of spiritual completion, where we have manifested a full cycle of our living experiences. So metaphysically, the number 12 represents spiritual fulfillment. So it is not important that the symbolic number of 12 as what we are completing in that spiritual time frame. And in that time frame of 12, the spiritual awakening that we call forth is a recognition of our light. The celebration and festivals of light all take place in December. So personally, it is our personal understanding, our own understanding of the light within us that has the biggest impact. Metaphysically, light means the understanding principle in mind. And in divine order, it comes to us first through consciousness and then embodiment. Light is a symbol of wisdom. Jesus said, "I am the light of the world." What he meant by that statement was that he was the expresser of truth. Each and every one of you are an expresser of truth. It is our inner light coming forth, the spirit within that we embody, that we express with our positive words, our positive actions, our presence that we bring in to every room we enter. I'm sure you've felt for yourself when a specific person enters the room, it's like the energy shifts. Or sometimes we learn from opposites, where a certain person enters the room and it's like the energy constricts and collapses in upon itself. That presence within you and within me is what needs to be out into the world to light up the world. Eckhart Tolle, in his book, The Power of Now, shares that the presence is not what you think it is. You can't think about the presence. You can't use your mind, your human mind, to understand it. Understanding presence is being present. The Zen masters use the word satori to describe a flash of insight, a moment of no mind. You meditators know what I'm talking about. It's that time where you are totally present and sense that you are actively attached and awake and one with all that is. Although satori is not a lasting transformation, unfortunately, we must be grateful when that essence is awake in us, because that is our taste of enlightenment. And you may have indeed experienced that sense of enlightenment many times before you realized what it was. Your Christ present, awake in you. The presence is needed for each of us to be aware of beauty, the majesty, the sacredness of nature, and of one another. So beyond beauty is the external form. There is something oh so much more out there that cannot be named. It is that deep inner holy essence. The inner essence shines from within you, and it only reveals itself from you fully when you are present with a T. So being present with a T to your own inner presence with a CE is your greatest gift. Do I need to say that again? Just checking. So could it be that this nameless essence and your presence are one in the same? I would say yes. When you experience these moments of presence and you don't realize you are briefly in that state of no mind, nowhere. Split that in half and you're now here. It just depends on where you slice it. Like a good piece of pie. I'm on this no sugar diet right now, so seeing all those cookies yesterday, I had the sugar thing going on. I had sugar plums in my head. But that's another story for another day. Eckhart Tolle says that the wider the time gap between perception and thought, the more depth of experience you have, and the more conscious you are, the wider the time between perception and thought. So when you become conscious of being, what is really happening is that the being becomes conscious of itself. That is presence, when the being is conscious of itself. And since being, consciousness, and life are synonymous, we would say that presence means consciousness being conscious of itself, or life-attaining consciousness. Is this too much for a Sunday morning after a late evening? It feels that way for me. God. So don't get attached to the words. Don't make an effort to understand. Just be present to where you are, to who you are with, to the thoughts, to the feelings, to the essence of you. Just be present and allow your presence to be the greatest gift in your life. You can, if you choose, substitute the word Christ for presence. We do that all the time here. I don't mean to confuse you. It's the same thing. And so when you know that your Christ is your God essence, or the self, as the Eastern philosophies say, you know that it's one thing we are talking about. The only difference between the Christ and the presence is that Christ refers to the indwelling divinity of you and of everyone else. And we use that word because that potential is there in each and every person, whether they know it or not. We know it for them. We create the environment for them to awaken to it for themselves. The Christ is always present. Whether you are present to the presence is another matter. And so you get to do that work for yourself. Regardless of you're conscious of it or not, your awakened divinity is your God essence. Your Christ presence is always there. You cannot leave it, and it cannot leave you. So I invite you to become awakened as you move forward into the new year, this year. And I will remind you that in Romans chapter 12, verse 2, it says, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." In New Thought, our mind is a key aspect of awakening to the Christ presence, of awakening to the greatest gift that we have in this lifetime. It is a key tool for us to use. And so as we come into the conscious awareness that we are the light of the world by being present to the presence within ourselves, we must step into our truth and be the truth we know. It's unity principle number 5. To live the truth you know, live it fully, live it joyfully, live it harmoniously. And so where is the presence? Well, I'd like to share with you in closing a different version of the prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God watches over us. And the presence of God is in you and me. Merry Christmas. Namaste.